Well, welcome everybody on this awesome Thursday in October. We're delighted to have everybody participate in our webinar today. My name is Jeannie Borum. I'm part of the Signworld Corporate team, and I'll be the moderator for this session. Just to give you an overview of the format for our webinars, if you haven't participated in one before or listened to them, our previous recording ones, we're going to go in a format where we have each of our panel of owners introduce themselves, give you a little bit of overview of themselves and their business. And then we're going to go in a round robin format with our participants. Each of you are going to be allowed an opportunity to ask an individual question, and each of the panel of owners will provide a response, giving you some multiple perspectives to your question. We do ask you to keep it to a single question each time, and we will continue to rotate through the group as time permits for a secondary or third question if we're able. So with that said, I'd like to first kick it off and give our panelists an opportunity to introduce themselves. Larry, can we start with you?
I sure can. I'm Larry Foster. I am the owner of Signs and More, and I'm located in Troy, Michigan, which is a suburb of Detroit. I'm about 35 miles north of Detroit. I've been in business for 20 years. I am in my third location. I started off in 3,000 square feet, or no, 1,700 square feet, moved to 4,000 square feet, and then bought a building, and I'm currently in 8,000 square feet. Right now I have 11 employees. Could use some more, but we're going to have to live with 11, it looks like, for right now. This year, my expected volume will be just over $1.7 million. Just to give you an idea, we're generalists, we do everything. One of the biggest jobs that we did an entire school system, from the high school, the middle school, all the grade schools, the ground sign, interior signs, exterior signs, wayfinding signs. So it takes all of our capabilities to make all those signs. And it was just a great job, just over $200,000 for that single job. My personal background, I came out of retail. When I left the company that I work for, I was the vice president of operations for the company.
Wonderful. Thank you, Larry. Michelle, can you go ahead and introduce yourself, please?
You bet. I'm kind of one of the newbies. We opened in November 2019. So really we kicked off 2020 just in time for COVID. So our first year, Houston Graphic Signs is our name. We're located in Houston, Texas. Graciously, we were able to be open through all of COVID. So we were able to do about 150,000 our first year. Second year, we projected to 300,000. We've actually done so well. Our projected mark is at 500,000. We're in our first location, which is about 2,500 square feet. We have 4 full-time employees, myself, my husband, a graphic designer, and an installer. Our largest client was $64,000, and that was a COVID testing site. So we loved being able to facilitate with them. 2 other larger clients. One was a digital board at $35,000, and the other was for an oil company where we did their corporate office as well as their oil facility out by Galveston, and that was about $34,000. Our average client is about $1,500 to $2,000. And we seem to facilitate a lot of new businesses opening, apartment complexes, church outdoor signs, interior lobby signs, as well as a lot of realtors. My background is education, and my husband's background is corporate.
Wonderful. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Jim from our great state of Georgia, can you go ahead and give yourself an introduction?
Sure can. Thank you. So my name's Jim Tardif. My company's Signs of Significance. We're in Roswell, Georgia, just north of Atlanta. We've been open for a little over 6 years now. We're in our second location. We just moved 2 months ago from the initial spot, which we had about 2,500 square feet, And we've just moved to a new location where we have a little over 7,200 square feet. I have currently 4 employees, and like Larry, we could probably use a couple more. My projected sales for 2021 will be a little over 600,000. Our biggest customer to date is Kimberly-Clark. We redid their entire campus here in Roswell, all of the ground signs. That was about just under $70,000 for that project. My background, I spent 30 years with General Electric, mostly in sales and marketing roles. I retired from GE, went to another company as the global sales director for about 3 years and left them to start Signs of Significance with my son.
Awesome. Thank you, Jim. And I must say, the great state of Georgia, I say that tongue in cheek because you took out my Milwaukee Brewers 2 days ago. So I'm sure you're a happy Braves fan right now. All right. Very good. Jack, can we go to you for your introduction, please?
Morning, everybody. I'm Jack Werner. I joined Signworld back in 1995. Company's name was 3D Signs. I started in 1,100 square feet with a staff of 1. Grew to 5,000 square feet with a staff of 11, doing about 1.3 million in revenue. I then sold that operation to join Ken at the corporate office and go into kind of a partnership arrangement with him for the next number of years. I finished buying him out back in 2014, 7 years ago, and became the current president owner of Signworld. So when I answer questions today, if it goes to my experience running an operation, I'll speak from that perspective. If it goes to training and policy, I'll speak from that. I came out of wholesale food distribution, running a wholesale food distribution company. 2 of my largest customers, I took care of a regional developer for Subway with about 200 locations. They were a $250,000 a year customer. And I had a retail chain that opened about 12 to 15 new stores per year at a $20,000 per location clip. So a $250,000 to $300,000 customer there.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jack. And we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for our founder, Ken. Can you go ahead and give yourself an introduction, Ken?
Hi, everybody. My name is Ken Kent. I'm the founder of Signworld 33 years ago in Honolulu, Hawaii. Started with my own sign company. My largest customer was Bank of Hawaii. I ship signs as far away as California and Guam for them. I think that's good.
All right, very good. Thank you, Ken. All right, now it's time for our panelists to get an opportunity to ask your questions. As I said in the beginning, please just start with one, and as time permits, we'll go back around again for second or third questions if able. We will turn the floor over to Davey. Davey, can you take yourself off of mute, introduce yourself, perhaps share where you're from, and go ahead with your first question, please.
Sure, thanks a lot. My name is Davey. I'm from Vancouver, BC. So my question really is, I mean, getting into the sign industry, I don't know anything. Like I'm sure a lot of you did. How long did it take you guys to get like a good working knowledge of the industry?
Great question. Well, Michelle came from education, so I know she didn't know anything about signs when she came into the business, and she's one of our newer owners. So Michelle, how has that gone for you?
I guess what drew us to this type of a business is that we were customers. I volunteered a lot for the PTA organizations. We needed banners, we needed t-shirts, we needed signs. We needed a variety of the services that a sign company provides. My husband also worked for a corporate office, and he had to do several rebrandings of vehicle wraps, as well as outdoor signage and so forth. And so he also was a customer. We have learned just as we've gone every day. Every new customer seems to be a learning experience. We've enjoyed it, but I really have to say those first 2 years, you are a newbie and you are learning everything as you go.
Fantastic. Michelle, as far as training and learning how to make a sign, did you go through that in the beginning?
We did. So we came to California, did our 1 week training on the computer, a second week with hands-on with the equipment. But I think the key is hiring a graphic designer that is familiar and has years of experience. And so we brought a corporate side to the business, but they brought the technical side of a sign company, and we're collaborating the two and making a standout sign company that's responsive, that has quality work, and that's able to get the job done that they promise.
Love it. Thank you, Michelle. Jim, let's go to you. Did you know how to make a sign before you started your sign business? And how's it gone to ramp yourself up?
I often tell people when I'm first meeting them, the only thing I knew about signs when we started is I had to stop at a stop sign. But, you know, like Michelle, I think the key is hiring that right first employee. I hired Kevin, who's still with me today, and he had about 15 years of sign experience in the Atlanta market. So he was invaluable to me. One of the first things he said is, Jim, you're going to go out, you're a salesman, you're going to go out and start talking to people. They're going to ask you a lot of questions. Just say yes, we'll get it done for you. Bring it back here. If I don't know how to do it, we'll find somebody that does know how to do it. And you learn fast, right? You're in the fire, you have to learn fast. And I feel like we've come a long way in 6 years.
That's awesome. Thanks, Jim. Larry, how about you?
Well, when I started, I knew nothing about signs at all. And it's funny when you get done with the training and you've been out, and my training was in Georgia, but now you go out to California, do your training, you do an operational and marketing training, you do training on your equipment, how to start up your business, what things do you need, all the things that you need to get going. And it's amazing when you go out and see that first customer, you're so scared, and you figure out that you know a heck of a lot more about signage than they do because you have gone through that training. And as the backup, your first employee is critical. And you know, they usually have 5 to 8 years of experience, and they have seen it before. So when you go out to those first few customers, you bring them as backup, but you find out very quickly that you don't need them, that your business background and your knowledge and your confidence will show through.
Thank you, Larry. Jack?
You know, I ordered a banner once in my life. I knew nothing about it. I don't think anybody joining Signworld is a sign expert in any way. Well, there's a learning curve. It's a blessing of the business. We have a blog posting that goes out at midnight every night of all the people, all the Signworld owners asking questions. Where do I buy? How do I price? How do I do? Technically, I become the head trainer, and yet there's not a day that goes by that I read one of those blogs and go, I don't know the answer to that one. But as you read the responses coming from others, I'm learning something new every day, and that's the fun of it. I said, you're never knowing it all, that it's constantly an ever-changing environment. It's custom manufacturing.
Thank you, Jack. Ken, anything to add?
Nope, nothing
All
there.
right. All right, perfect. We will go to our next participant. We have Forrest. Forrest, if you can take yourself off of mute, introduce yourself, where you're from, and go ahead with your first question.
Yeah, my name is Forrest Seeley, and Michelle, I'm a neighbor of yours. I live up in Cypress, which is northwest of Houston. My background is banking. I've been in the banking industry, most of my adult life, in the credit card acquiring side. So my question is, really, this is really for the veterans. If you could go back to your first year and talk to yourself, what advice would you give yourself? What landmines would you try to avoid, or what cliffs would you jump off of?
Well, without jumping off a cliff, he's still here. Larry Foster is our most veteran owner. Larry, what would you do differently?
I got to tell you, when we started, we sat down. I think we had a pretty good plan. We executed the plan, and there aren't too many things that I would have changed. I think the thing that surprised me the most when I got started was how much of the signage that we could actually do ourselves. So many things that you thought were beyond your capability, we were able to do. So I think I would have had a little more confidence, I think, when I started to be unafraid of the bigger projects.
Love that. Jim, how about you?
As I look back over 6 years, my biggest mistake was not paying closer attention to who was building my initial website. So your website's critical. I would say pay a lot of attention to the quality of that website. Other than that, if your background is in sales, get after it, enjoy that, get out, I do a lot of networking, and between the websites and the networking, that's paid dividends for us.
Thank you, Jim. Michelle, you've been in business for 1.5 years, but I'm sure there might be a mistake you can think of or something you do different.
I like Larry's response on having confidence and taking advantage of what you're doing and building. Because we didn't maybe know what we were doing, many things were outsourced, and we realized that we had a higher standard than some of our competitors that we were outsourcing to. And so we've now kind of changed our gears on what we want to make in-house. So we've made additional purchases on the equipment. And we find great enjoyment in being able to make signs here in our warehouse.
Love it. Thanks, Michelle. Jack?
I can give you 100 things that Signworld Owners would tell you collectively that they do different, but it's figuring out who are the right customers. Not everybody's the right customer. Figuring out what products you want to take on and which products you want to avoid. It's working on the business, not working in the business. Getting that website powerful, getting that website to be bringing you more leads than you need, so you can start discriminating and figure out which ones you want to take on, which ones you want to avoid. And stay
Perfect.
comfortable.
Yes. Ken, anything to add?
Yes, to add to just what Jack said is, I think the whole concept of time management, that in corporate life, we learn that. And somehow when we start our own business, we throw all that out the window and we're cleaning the bathroom in the middle of the day. So very, and also to focus on what Jack said, that it's a lot easier to keep working with the same customer in other areas of their business than it is to constantly be going out and finding new business. So, for example, my customer was Bank of Hawaii, and I started out with just one little segment of the bank. But by the time I was done with them, I had weaved a spider web throughout the entire organization. And so many of us forget to do that, and so forth. So time management, and as Jack said, going after the right people, the right projects, instead of just waiting for what comes in automatically, which will keep you busy. It's the ability to step up the ladder.
Great. Thank you so much, Ken. We'll go to our next participant, Landon. Landon just had an introduction call to Signworld this morning and made room for his calendar for this conversation. So Landon, go ahead with your first question today.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Landon. I'm from Knoxville, Tennessee, and thanks for sharing all your wisdom here today. Question that I have for the group is just when you all mention the right customer, what is the definition of the right customer? Like if you started out, there's lots of needs for signs and printing and things of that nature, but just who are the ones that consistently buy over and over again that are at the same time somewhat accessible to an early sales conversation?
Great question. Larry Foster, you have lots of recurring customers and years in the business. What would you say is the right customer and how did you approach them?
It's funny because I don't know when you first meet that customer if they're the right customer. Sometimes it's the most obscure customer that you find turns out to be a fabulous customer. One of my top companies that I do work with is an automotive junkyard. Now, that doesn't seem very glamorous, but I do jobs for a company called Pick and Pull, and I get orders from them every single day. They have about 70 locations. They're found throughout the United States and Canada, and they have the ugliest signs you've ever seen in your life, but I love them because they order so many of them. So there's that. There's the franchises that are out there that have multiple locations. It's the property management companies. The schools are a great resource. You start in one school and you go from one to another. So there's so many different types of companies out there that have that repeat business.
Thank you, Larry. How about you, Michelle?
That's kind of an interesting question because as a new business, you literally try to take everything that comes in. And as you gain more experience, you realize the customers you do want to have and the ones that you will suggest to go to Fast Signs or to Alpha Graphics. I know that we do a lot of educating. Some people don't quite understand our capabilities, and so they just want one sign. But when they come in and see our showroom, they're blown away at the possibilities. I also explain to them that everything is custom made. It's made specifically for them. But some of our favorite businesses that we try to seek out are new entrepreneurs. They own a location, so they're looking for indoor signs, outdoor signs. Apartment complexes have been an incredible client for us. Church outdoor signs. We had a sign on our website of a church sign, and just having that individual photo has drawn in a lot of phone calls. So whatever you put on your website are going to be the kind of clients that you're going to draw into. We love doing interior lobby signs because we can make them all in-house. And then realtors have kind of been our bread and butter. You know, we've enjoyed doing them, and we're working with larger companies, not individual ones.
Wonderful. Thank you, Michelle. Jim? Jim, you're on mute still.
Sorry about that. It is a great question. It's hard for me to pinpoint any particular type of customer. I think, like Larry was saying, you meet customers, and regardless of the type they are, some of them become great customers. The ones that I find are really good customers are the ones that you have a relationship where you become their sign expert, right? They depend on you for the knowledge and the service that you bring, more so than just the signs or the products that you make for them. Companies that are growing, opening new locations, that sort of thing. You know, there's a term that I've learned in this industry called gate openers. But gate openers for me are property management companies that are leasing retail space, for example. You become their expert, their sign expert, and every time they put somebody into one of their properties, they refer you to them. You get to know their sign code, so you can make sure you're following their codes as well as the different municipalities. And companies that own fleets of vehicles are also great repeat customers. So contractors, roofing companies, anybody that's got a fleet of vehicles.
Love it. I think you guys kind of got every type of customer between the three of you that exist out there. So that's fantastic. Jack, how about you?
Answer a little bit differently. People that are spending company money, not their own money. They're more concerned with getting it done right on schedule. So they did their job, they look good to their boss. So it's company money, not people with money from their wallet or their purse. The person that's not asking about price, the person asking about expectations. It's that customer that has a repeatability to them, either at multiple locations or other needs, or the person that is able to refer you to others, because it's signs touch every business. So it's ability to leverage your way upwards. And then last, what does it fit to your staff? If you've got a sign maker who's great on vehicles, feed him vehicle graphics, keep him happy. If he's not good on vehicles, avoid them and go after other projects. So it's fitting to your staff as well.
Thank you, Jack. Ken, anything to add to that one?
No, nothing to add.
All right, very good. We'll go to our next participant, James Jackson. Can you take yourself off of mute, introduce yourself, where you're from, and go ahead with your first question.
Hi, everyone. It's James Jackson from San Jose, California. So my question is, when picking out your locations, did you have an idea of accessibility to foot traffic? Because I'm kind of curious about how much foot traffic actually comes into your business versus you just dealing with your customer and going to their site and figuring out what their needs are.
Love it. So foot traffic, meaning walk-in business versus customers coming to see you. Just want to make sure I clarify your question.
Exactly, yes.
Okay, that's what I figured you were going for. All right, let's start with them. Do you have any walk-in customers? How often do they see you, and how often do you see them?
I have very, very little walk-in traffic. We, like I said, we just recently moved. We're in a light industrial area. I'm not out on Main Street like some of the big franchises, and that's intentional. The walk-in traffic that's going to drive by and see you're a sign shop typically are looking for banners, and we're not in the banner business. We do banners for our clients, but we're not actively pursuing banner business. To us, it's lost leader kind of stuff. So we are really intentionally trying to avoid the walk-in business.
So Michelle, let's go to you. You mentioned about customers coming to visit you and seeing your capabilities. Do you have any walk-in traffic, or are those by appointment? Tell us a little more.
A little of both. We do get an occasional walk-in. They're looking literally for the nearest sign company to them. But when you choose your location, choose it for convenience for you. So we wanted a place 20 minutes from our home because we did not want to commute. We also wanted easy access to a freeway because we're going to be doing a lot of installations and site surveys and sign repairs. So you want to be able to allow yourself an easy way to get to your traffic and get out to your clients. We also needed a garage door if we were going to do any type of vehicle racks. And so you need to look for feasibility of what's there and available. And if you find something, put money down on it. We did not put money down and we lost our first location. So, if you find it, ask if that deposit's refundable and put it down because property could be going rather quickly. It took us quite a while to find a location and then to remodel it before we were able to open.
Great tips there. Michelle, thank you. Larry, you've had quite a few locations. Tell us a little bit about how often customers visit you. Any walk-in traffic?
Very little walk-in traffic now, but I can tell you from experience, my first location was one of those locations. It was a retail type location. It was in a strip center with restaurants and everything, and we got a lot of foot traffic. And if your goal is to sit down with a lot of grandmas that want to buy a banner for their granddaughter, and you want to spend an hour or two figuring out, do you want a yellow balloon or a green balloon? You want to go in that retail, but I don't think that's the business you're looking for. You want to get away from that. You want to go out and see the customers. You want to invite customers in. You'd love to have them see your capabilities, but the reality is you go out and see your customers, and so much is done over your website and emails now.
Wonderful, thank you. Jack?
99% of your customers will never come to you. You're going to go to them because you got to see where the product goes. You're inviting them back to show them your swagger, but your customers are coming in by appointment only. You really don't want walk-ins.
Ken, anything to add?
If you want to make money, you don't want walk-ins. Larry said it so well.
He did. Yes, he did. Very good. Let's go to our next participant. Chad, can you take yourself off of mute, introduce yourself, and go ahead with your first question?
Sure, thank you. And thanks everyone for your time today. These sessions are super valuable, so really appreciate it. My question, two of you in your introductions mentioned the need for more staff, or that you had capacity for more staff. So I'm just curious about the current operating times with the pandemic and Great Resignation and so forth, and what strategies you're using to both recruit and then also retain your current employees, and any sort of career path or what have you to encourage that as well.
Thank you, Chad. Great question. Let's go ahead and start with Larry. Larry, finding people, keeping people. You're a large operation today. Talk a little bit about it.
It's always been fairly easy to get help, to retain help. It has never been an issue. The last year is just, things have changed. It is very difficult today. I think maybe 6 months from now that'll start changing, but right now we're in a pretty tough time for hiring new help. I always say I can meet the government's what they're paying somebody. I can't meet their hours. I just can't, because nobody's working. But as far as retaining, we retain our employees. We don't lose them. It's very, very low turnover. I came out of retail that was terrible turnover all the time. This is at the opposite end of the spectrum. This is a career for people. They can come in, they can start as a sign maker, they can move into design positions, they can go out, they can be project managers. So there is a career path in our organization. So retention has not been the problem.
Thank you, Larry. Jim, I visited you last week and I know you got some people you're trying to hire right now. Tell a little bit about that.
Yes, so we have been fortunate and we've grown quite a bit this year. I do need some more help. I haven't actively started going through the process yet. So Larry, I'm not sure if I'm going to run into those problems you're talking about or not, but based on listening to the news, I guess I probably will have some difficulties. As far as retention, there's 4 of us right now, and each of us have a section of the business we're responsible for. So we've been able to give people those roles that seem to fit their skill sets best. We've got a director of design, one of production. My son is the VP of sales, and then I'm the owner of the company. So we all have our areas of responsibility, and I think matching that to the skill sets gives the people the challenges that they're really looking to get out of their career.
Thank you. Michelle, you opened in the COVID pandemic and you're growing. How's it finding staff? Has it been difficult? How are you doing it?
You know, we were only 3 employees for quite a while, and then the pandemic hit, and we knew we wanted to grow. We didn't maybe have the funds, but an employee landed in our lap. He was furloughed. We knew he was valuable, and we kind of bit the bullet and hired him. But because we hired him, maybe prior to affording him, he's the one that took us over that next hill, because we had an extra set of hands, as well as he had an extra set of skills. So it's really critical on who you hire. We've hired someone specifically for graphic design. We've hired someone specifically for sales, production, and installation. And so you kind of pick the areas that you need that expertise. Sometimes it's really hard to find someone who's well-rounded in all those areas. Plus, you can't have one person running the entire show. You need to be able to outsource it. You could also ask your employee. We've gotten additional help by asking our employees and utilizing some of their friends who are currently working. Many employees work for several sign companies, not just one. You might be able to hire someone part-time and not full-time. And then, of course, you could also post your jobs online, and those seem to be quite valuable.
Thank you very much, Michelle. Jack?
Before I give my answer, I'm going to introduce a couple of slideshows I'm going to have in the background. There's no audio to them, so we'll go on with questions while they play. The first one is going to show you some operations inside and out, so you can see what the facilities look like. The second slideshow goes to what is a sign. Not only what do we make with our initial equipment, what do we outsource, and eventually perhaps bring in-house later on as we add equipment, as Michelle has talked about, and Larry. The third slideshow just shows our wall of fame. Some of the bigger, more unique projects that go on. So these will go on in the background while we're having conversation. You know, I did 2 interviews yesterday for a new operation in Baltimore. One candidate had 12 years of experience, one had 15 years of experience. So there's people out there that are looking. Now they're going to come to work for you for one of 3 reasons. One, there's a ceiling at work where they're the number 2, 3, or 4 guy where they're currently working and they want to move up the ladder. 2, they're working on old equipment and they're techie enough. They want to work on latest and greatest, which is what you have. But more than anything, they're looking for the happy home. The boss that'll give them praise and they did a good job. The boss that won't berate them in front of others, take them off to the side if they need a reprimand. The boss that'll give them off for their daughter's recital, that's important. The boss will give them a raise without begging for it. They're looking for that happy home. So if you hire carefully and nurture, like Larry, it's a low turnover business. That's the beauty of it.
I know you got something to add, Ken, because I know. Oh, there's a slideshow. Sorry, just screen changed a little bit. Ken, go ahead with your comment.
On the subject of employees, you know, that's the big buzzword today. That's the choke point. That's the bottleneck. That's the universal problem across all businesses today. So knowing that, one of the beauties of the sign business, which is a manufacturing business, is very few employees for the amount of money that you can make. So for example, the benchmark is if you want to make $150,000 net personal income after all expenses of the business, you only need 3 sign makers, 3 employees, that's all. But if you look at all those other franchises out there that you're looking at and comparing Signworld to. In any of those businesses, you need at least 10 employees and possibly 2 locations in order to make $150,000 net personal income after all expenses. So the beauty of Signworld is very few employees as well as very few customers. And when I started the business, my motto was, I want to make the most amount of money in the least amount of time, dealing with the fewest number of people, meaning both customers and employees. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. We'll go to our next participant, Joey. Can you go ahead and take yourself off of mute, introduce yourself, where you're from, and give us your first question?
Hi, I'm Joey Tucker, calling from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Sorry to join late here, gang. Had a little bit of issues. But you know, for me, some of the biggest question I have, and I you know, Ken has answered this before, but I'd like to hear from others, is there are quite a few sign companies and franchises within my area. How do you see, how do you fit in with that type of competition in your areas?
Love the question, Joey. It's usually asked by at least one person in every one of these. Let's go ahead and start with Larry first. Larry, how do you compete against the other sign companies or operations in your area?
Well, it doesn't matter what market you're in, you're going to have competition. And if you're a small market, there's going to be fewer numbers. If you're in a big city, big market, you're going to have a lot of competition. I have at least 200 sign companies in a 20-mile radius of my building. I've got probably at least 10 within 2 miles of me. So you're going to have that no matter where you go. This kind of goes back to what Ken was just talking about. You don't have to have a lot of customers. You want to have your customers, those good customers that keep coming back, and you get those and you keep them. And I think you'll hear it from everybody. The secret that keeps those customers is that you keep your word, you keep your promise. If you're going to give them a quote, you tell them it's going to be there in 2 days. The quote's got to be there in 2 days. If you get the job, you say that the job is going to take a week, you have to have it done within a week. And if you do that, they trust you and you become their sign company. So that's how you build the relationship with your customer.
Thank you, Larry. Michelle?
You know, the competition is great to have because you don't want every customer. You need to decide what kind of signs you're going to make. And so if someone's always calling you for banners and you no longer want to do banners, then you recommend your neighbor who's up the street. We do a lot of recommendation. You look and decide what you're the expert in, and you sell yourself in those products. The biggest way to gain clients is to answer your phones, provide a quote, provide information, and just be responsive. I'm blown away at how that is not true for every sign company that one would call.
So to continue with that, Michelle, what would you say your conversion rate is for customers who do reach out to you? How many of those are you converting?
I want to say about 67% if we talk to them on the phone. If we only reply by email, without physically talking to them, it's as low as 7% because they're just window shopping and they won't pick up their phone. They only want response by email. And that's a good way to clarify what kind of a customer you want. They also need to be responsive and pick up the phone.
Love that. Larry, what's your conversion rate for new leads that come in?
We are probably at 70, 75%. It's pretty high.
Yep. All right, Jim, how's competition in your market and how do you compete against them? And if you can show your conversion rate if you know it.
Yeah, you know, like everybody else, we have more than enough competitors in the Atlanta market, even in our local business or our local area. One of the things I learned going through the training at Signworld was check out your competitors' response rate. And like Michelle was saying, you'll find that it's not good. I think overall in the sign industry, it's not good. And we set very early in our business philosophy response rate as one of our focus areas, and that has served us extremely well. So customers call us, to Larry's point, they know they can depend on us to come back with something quickly, certainly within the time frame that we've agreed to and we've communicated, and I think that's probably the biggest differentiator we go to market with is response time. Conversion rates, I don't have data. Anecdotally, it feels like we're probably in the high 60s, 70%. We do very well when customers call us, we close those deals.
Answer the phone, provide a quote. Love it. Let's go to Jack.
You know, the biggest thing that we have going for us is the ineptness of our competition. Most sign companies are not owned by business people trying to run a sign company. They're owned by former sign makers, some of those employees you might have hired, who over years saved their nickels to buy their own equipment. But they spent their days and years, boss, I'm done with the last job, what should I do next? When I'm done with that, what should I do after that? Now they're trying to juggle 20, 50, 100 products at a time. It's chaos. They don't show up for the appointment on time. They don't get the quote back quickly. They can't deliver on time, on budget. When's the last time you had a contractor show up for the appointment on schedule, get the quote back to you immediately, and then deliver the project on time, on budget? It doesn't happen. So that's why we go to the business coaches to bring us people like you that understand customer commitment, that understand building processes, to building a system to be able to execute these projects.
Thank you, Jack. Ken, any additional comments?
In general, this business is no different than being a plumber, an electrician, or a refrigerator repairman. The first guy in the door that can make sense and talk a decent game usually gets a job. So it's all about showing up on time. It's all about being the first one in the door. That's how you build your business.
Thank you, Ken. All right, we're going to go back to the top of the order and allow our participants to ask a second question. Davey, we'll go to you first. Do you have a second question for the group?
Sure, yeah, thank you. One of the questions I had, and it's a little bit of a difficult question because everyone's from different places, but it was kind of like, what do you pay that first employee? So I wasn't, and I know like everyone has like different minimum wages and like different, economies and everything like that. But so it might be a difficult question, but if anyone can at least give it a shot.
All right, absolutely.
Jeannie?
Yes.
Excuse me. Have you missed Forrest or Seeley here?
No, Forrest went second. He's our second in line.
Okay. I'm sorry, I haven't heard a question from him.
It's all right. He had his chance the first time and he'll have a second one in a moment, but thank you for making sure I didn't miss anybody. I appreciate that.
All right, sorry.
No worries, no worries. Michelle, can you go ahead and answer the question first?
We've paid our employees anywhere between $18 and $24, depending on their experience. Sometimes we hire them with a 3-month probation, and then we'll raise their hourly, depending on what kind of service that they give us and provide.
Very good, thank you. Jim?
I have 2 hourly, and like I said, my son's in the business. He is on a salary. He's our salesperson, our sales VP, so he gets a salary and a commission. The other 2 are hourly. Everybody has sales responsibilities, and those sales come with commission. So I have a commission plan for everybody as well. As far as hourly rates, I started my first person at 18, and other people have started at 15 and moved up as warranted.
Thank you, Jim. Larry?
I have a starting rate for our production guys that start at as low as $15 an hour, and the highest is our production manager, who is at $21 an hour. My design staff will run anywhere between 16 and 19 an hour, and I also have a salaried general manager.
So you can go play golf a couple times a week.
Larry, is it true you still have your very first employee?
I certainly do. And if she leaves, I leave.
And how many days a week do you get to go play golf?
Well, I play 3. She doesn't play.
But how many years has she? How many years has she been with you as your first employee?
20 years.
You're a good boss. All right, very good. Jack?
You know, we're going to help counsel you on what the pay rate is in your market. There are definitely some areas of the country a little bit higher than others, but you're going to find that if your pay rate is higher, chances are your rent is a little bit higher, your gasoline for your car is a little bit higher, the lunch you bought is a little bit higher, but you probably charge a little bit more for your signs in that market than you do in others, because it's what is that market moving at? So you're comparable to the competition. We'll help counsel you on where you need to be. I would imagine for you, Davey, Vancouver market, you're probably at a $24, $25 an hour rate is probably what I would estimate.
Very good. Thank you. All right, we'll go to our next participant to ask the second question, which is Forrest. Forrest, can you take yourself off of mute and go ahead?
I will, Ken, and this is Forrest again. Just to elaborate a little bit further on compensation, are there any other things that you offer employees, that any other benefits that you offer employees, insurance or, 401k or profit sharing? Is there, other than just a wage?
Great question. Let's go to our veteran owner, Larry, who's been in business longer. Larry, do you offer any benefits to your employees?
We do. And when I first opened, we didn't. I was 10 years open before we offered benefits, but now we have a full benefit plan. We have a 401k with matching funds. So we have those now.
Very good. Michelle, how about you?
We wanted insurance for ourselves. Therefore, we had to be able to offer it to our employees. So after their 3-month probation, they're offered insurance. They would pay half of the copay as well as ourselves. We also offer vacation time and sick leave, and that will accrue more days the longer they're with us.
Love it. Very good. Jim, how about you?
Like I mentioned, I have everybody with sales responsibilities, and they get commissions on the sales that they bring in. I don't offer any health benefits. I do offer vacation and sick days.
Very good. Jack?
Everybody's biggest concern is how much overhead am I going to have in the beginning? And this is not a benefits heavy industry. So you don't need to add those benefits to acquire staff. They're working at an independent sign company that doesn't have benefits now. But over time, being a good boss, you're going to want to add benefits so they never want to leave. So you'll do it for retention, not necessarily need it for acquisition. You don't need it to begin with.
Thank you. Ken, anything to add?
Nothing to add.
All right, very good. Landon, let's go to you next. Can you take yourself off of mute and go ahead with your next question?
Yes, I want to cheat the system and ask like 3 questions, but I know I'll be respectful of everybody's time. I'm curious, just when you look at the ideal SKU or product, like what are the most profitable offerings that you all have at your disposal? If you did 100% of your business, it would just be the ideal. Like, what are the SKUs that are most attractive?
All right, very good. Michelle, let's start with you. What's the most profitable projects that you have found?
Well, you're going to start out with the basic equipment, and that's what you're going to make. And that's the biggest margin that you have, because you have control over the materials, the amount of time. You don't have shipping unless, of course, it's not local. And then you need to decide what you enjoy making and where you want to be able to make more profit. And for us, some of our additional equipment that we bought, we wanted to fabricate bigger signs in-house. So we bought a panel saw, we bought a trailer. We currently own a CNC router. When we bought that router, we reached out to all our competitors as well as other Signworld owners that didn't have routers, and we offer wholesale routing services so that we could pay for it. And then we recently acquired this week a welder, because again, we want to be able to fabricate in-house and to have more ability to earn that money instead of outsource.
Michelle, what would you say is the range on your profit margin for those projects you're doing in-house versus out?
That I don't know my numbers right off. I want to say that's the strength of my husband. He has an accounting background, and he knows all those numbers on the back of his hand. So I apologize for not knowing those.
That's okay.
But I know everything we're able to make in-house, we have higher margins because we have complete control over the materials, the time, and we don't have to pay for someone to fabricate it.
Perfect, thank you. Jim, the jobs that produce the most margin for you, and if you know your margins, what are they?
I would say vehicle graphics are great margin generators for us. In our new location, we've got space to bring 2 vehicles inside to do graphics, so that's a real focus area for us now. We, like Michelle, invested in a CNC router, so that does give us wholesale opportunities. So anything with dimensional cut elements like aluminum or acrylic elements, those have all been focus areas. So lobby signs, for example, are great opportunities for us. You know, when I look at in-house production versus outsourcing, we've got some great partners that we outsource to. And we typically, our scheme on most of that stuff is we take their cost and double it. So our margins are pretty healthy on the outsourced stuff as well.
Do you know what your margins are for most of your projects? What are you running at?
I would say gross margins were probably in the 60% range.
And net?
I would say operating margins were probably in the 25% range.
Very good, thank you. Let's go to you, Larry. What projects do you find to be the most profitable? And if you know your profit margins that you could share, that'd be great.
Anything you do in-house, you are going to have a great profit margin. I can tell you 70% of my business comes from my printer, my printers. I have 3 printers. That can be vehicle graphics. It could be graphics on storefront windows. It can be on flat signs. It could be anything, floor graphics. And you're talking, when you do it in-house, you're talking probably 85% margins. When you outsource and you have somebody else do the labor, you're not entitled to make as much money because that person is going to make some of the money as well. With that said, when you outsource something based on the project, many of them, you're going to get a 60-65% margin. Higher ticket items, channel letters, things like that, you're not going to get that much. You're going to get a 50% margin maybe. My overall gross margin is actually a little less than most. I get about a 72 to 73% gross margin, mostly because I wholesale to other sign companies. But I make it up on the expense side. I run my expenses a little tighter than most sign companies. I'll run usually a 22 to 23% expense ratio. So I end up with a net profit of 26, 27, 28%.
Very good. Thank you, Larry. Jack?
You know, I think that not only the projects you make in-house, but also the projects that the customer doesn't need but wants. We'll always pay more for what we want than what we need. So corporate lobby signs have huge markup. Corporate culture walls, because it's printed in-house and the customer wants to enhance their own image so they can charge their customers more. They'll pay a lot of profitable margins for those types of projects. So corporate lobby signs, corporate culture walls are, I think, the 2 biggest areas that you can be very successful with.
Very good, thank you. Ken, anything to add?
Yes, I think the focus should not be so much which products are most profitable, but which customers are most profitable. I'd rather have one customer who runs a large organization and buys $2 million worth of signs from me, all different types, than to have 100 customers that are going to drive me crazy and still buy the same amount of signs. So you want to focus on the prime customers and creating the customer relationship, the friendship, and working with them throughout their entire organization, like a spider web, as I mentioned earlier, to do all kinds of signs for them at huge, huge volumes.
Very good. Thank you, Ken. James Jackson, can you take yourself off of mute and go ahead with your second question?
Sure. Hi, everyone. as a Signworld owner, what benefits from being a part of the Signworld family do you utilize the most?
Great question. Thank you. Let's go ahead and start with Jim. Jim, what benefits from the Signworld organization have you leveraged the most?
I would say the training aspects of that Signworld offers. I think probably the one I've leveraged most, though, is just getting to know the other owners and using the other owners as resources. And some of the local owners, when we first started out, were tremendously helpful, both in knowledge and helping me with production. Probably the Owners Alliance is the biggest benefit that we realized.
Thank you, Jim. Larry, how about you? What do you think are the biggest, or what benefits have you used the Signworld organization for?
I can remember like it was yesterday when I worked in my corporate job for almost 30 years. When I left that corporation, I didn't know anything about any other industry. That's the only thing I knew. So here I am, I'm out on my own, and what am I going to do? I didn't have the knowledge, the background to just go out and start on my own. So I leveraged Signworld. Signworld gave me everything that I needed to get up and running in an industry that I don't know anything about. They gave me equipment, they gave me training, they gave me vendors, and they gave me all that support and the knowledge to get started in an industry that I don't know anything about. And with that, I would not do it on my own. Signworld was invaluable for that. And then when you go on, there's ongoing training, there's the owner support, which is awesome. But for me, the initial startup was absolutely priceless.
Very good. Thank you, Larry. Michelle?
I really have enjoyed the networking within Signworld. You've got a website that utilizes a variety of people nationwide. You have the ability to ask questions, to read answers of others, because they might propose questions you haven't even thought of. I love my mastermind group. I mean, they have become some of my closest friends as we meet every week. We've all been in the business the same amount of time. Half of us did our training together, and we're problem solving, we're complementing, we're encouraging, we're challenging each other every week to be successful. I appreciate Jeannie introducing a new group that we've just recently started, and the ability to have mentors to encourage us and to let us know what the next steps are so that we could grow. As a Signworld owner, we have buying power with all of our vendors. Some of our employees that come in and they realize the costs that we have when we buy our supplies, they're blown away at that potential. Within Signworld, I'm able to give referrals. When I'm not willing to drive 6 hours to do a site survey, I look for the closest Signworld owner. And so I give referrals out. And then I've had referrals come my way as well. And then the ability to do a job nationwide. We have a client that's 2 doors down from our building. They have a location in Nashville, Tennessee, as well as another one in California. I was able to call the closest Signworld owner to that location, and I sent all of the artwork. They printed it, they took it, and they installed it. And so the ability to have a client nationwide is a huge bonus.
Thank you, Michelle. Jack?
I think I'll reiterate 3 things that I heard there. It's the culture of the other owners willing to help each other. It's the ability to have nationwide customers without having to rely on strangers. We have constantly at Signworld been engaged in trying to revamp, to renew, to improve training. As of January, we're going to be offering 47 training sessions every month on all the different topics of the business. Now you think about that. There's 20 working days of the month. There's 47 training opportunities. There's more than 2 a day. And all you got to do is schedule and go to. You'll never get to them all, but we're here to make sure you're overserved, not underserved. And yet by doing that, you're not paying a royalty, one-time payment.
Thank you, Jack. Ken, anything to add?
No, nothing to add.
Very good. All right. I know we're over time. Are we okay to keep going, panelists? I want to make sure our owners don't have a burning customer appointment to get to. Thumbs up. Can I do a couple more? All right. Very good. Chad, let's go to you for your second question, if you like.
Actually, I need to go, so I'm going to drop. But thank you all very much. This is invaluable, and I'm completely sold. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Chad. Have a good day. Gavin?
Thanks.
Yep.
Oh, I'm just listening, but thank you. It's been valuable to
All right.
get all the answers.
Very, very good. Joey, as our last participant for a second question, do you have one?
Yeah, I was gonna follow up and ask questions about training, but I think hearing about the 47 sessions and 30 days, or that's just a lot. And I maybe a better question would be: you've all had some success at this. If you had a redo button to go back to the start, is there anything that you would have done differently, or something that you would have worked harder at in the start of your franchise?
So, Joey, I think you came on late, and that actually was one of the first questions that I
Oh,
think
was
we
it
got
really?
today.
I am
Yeah,
sorry. All right.
That's
All right.
that's
Well,
okay.
yeah.
Go
well,
ahead. Give Joey the short answers. The short answers. Larry Foster, what would you do differently in 1 or 2 words? You're on mute.
I'm a rookie, I would really focus on figuring out who that customer is that has that appetite for signage, and finding those as quickly as possible.
Very good. Jim?
I would say pay close attention to your website, sell, and don't stop selling when you have to start producing all those signs you just sold. Keep selling.
Very good. Michelle?
Don't be disappointed when you don't get the sell. You don't want every customer, and you can't take it personally. So many people window shop. You just offer your price, and don't barter. This isn't a business to barter. This is the price of my sign, and they either take it or they move on. And just don't get your feelings hurt.
Very good. We have one question that was in the chat box. I'm going to go ahead and ask it really quick. Landon asks, how do you train your installers? Let's start with you, Larry.
It's difficult. Actually, most of the production people in the back have sign experience. So when we start, those first people that you're looking for have experience. And then as people come in, they're the ones that are doing the training on how to do installations and things like that. Our job is to train them on what the culture of the company is, how they're expected to act, how they treat others, including customers. But our existing guys in the back are the ones that are doing the training, and they're experienced.
Thank you, Larry. Jim?
A lot of our installations are outsourced, so we look for good quality experienced installers in that respect. We're always looking for new good quality installers. You can never have enough of those. We do some of that stuff in-house, and quite honestly, that is OJT. We learn it as we go, and fortunately, we've got a pretty good team there.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jim. Michelle?
Watch with your vendors. Grimco will offer 3M training occasionally, and you want to take advantage of that. We've done that at least once, and it was so valuable. Also, you have to do safety training. When your guys go up on a bucket truck, make sure that they're certified and they've been trained and they know how to use that equipment. 4 of our employees that we've had have never been trained properly, and so make sure the people that you have, you take that time and you care about them enough to train them properly. Most of our installers we hire with experience. And then in-house, we do a lot of training to make sure that the quality is what we want. Everyone might know how to build a sign, but it might not be the best quality. And that's where you do a lot of training and let them know what your expectations are. And just visit and talk through each project so that you can cross-train everyone at the same time.
Love that. Thank you, Michelle. Jack?
I think they've answered it well. There's qualified installers out there. And you're only going to take on the projects that you feel comfortable doing and passing on the others. You don't have to take on every single project.
Very good. Ken, comment on that or any closing comments?
Nothing to add. Good to go.
Right. Very good. Well, I think we got through the group twice, so let's go ahead and close out today. To our owners, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedules to participate. We really, really appreciate you. To our participants, thanks for attending and having an interest in Signworld, and we look forward to continuing the conversations to see if this is the right fit for you in your next chapter in life. Hope everybody has a great rest of your day. Thank you for coming.